As governors extend stay-at-home orders to slow the spread of COVID-19, 34 states and counting have mandated or recommended that schools remain closed for the rest of the school year, affecting 38.6 million children. In today's Federal Flash, we'll discuss three coronavirus-related issues: funding for governors to support education, new legislation to close the homework gap, and the clash between special education administrators and advocates regarding waivers from the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act during the pandemic. We'll also cover the federal court decision vacating the Trump administration's efforts to roll back Obama-era nutrition standards for school meals and the department's proposal to give educators vouchers or stipends to choose their own professional development courses. Hi, I'm Ziyu Zhou, and I'm joined by Anne Heislop. Let's begin with funding for governors. Anne?
Our viewers may recall that the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, or CARES, provided over $30 billion for education, including $3 billion for governors. Last week, the Education Department released the application for these funds. Governors can use the emergency aid to provide school districts, colleges, and other education-related entities with resources to respond to the coronavirus. Grants will be awarded based on a state's student-aged population and poverty levels. In a letter to governors, Education Secretary DeVos called the emergency funds extraordinarily flexible, that encouraged states to spend funds on expanding and improving remote learning experiences. Each of the three required questions in the application asks states to describe whether they will use funds to support various aspects of virtual learning. Governors have until June 1st to apply, and the department expects to obligate funds to states within 3 business days of receiving a signed certification and agreement. More information is available at the link below.
Secretary DeVos has also begun the process of distributing the $14 billion for institutions of higher education included in the CARES Act, but we have yet to hear how and when the $13 billion for K-12 education will be distributed. We'll keep you posted. Meanwhile, Congress continues to debate further coronavirus relief. Lawmakers and the White House have just struck a deal on a $484 billion aid package for small businesses, hospitals, and coronavirus testing. But will there be additional funding for education in future aid packages? Advocates and educators certainly hope so. As part of this effort, the Emergency Educational Connections Act of 2020 was introduced this week by Representative Grace Meng. The legislation would create a $2 billion emergency connectivity fund to ensure students have home and internet access during school closures caused by the pandemic. All4Ed and many other organizations support the bill, but Congress has extended its recess until early May due to the pandemic. So it will likely be several weeks before we know whether this or any other additional funding will be provided for education.
A clash is brewing among the special education community regarding how to support students with disabilities during school closures. The CARES Act included language giving Secretary DeVos 30 days to tell Congress if she needs authority to waive parts of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. As a result, the Council of Administrators of Special Education and the National Association of State Directors of Special Education recently sent a letter to Congress requesting waivers from timelines, procedures, and fiscal management under IDEA. These groups say that in many situations, meeting IDEA requirements during the pandemic is impossible. On the other hand, more than 70 national disability, advocacy, and civil rights organizations, including All4Ed, oppose such waivers. We believe that IDEA offers flexibility by design, and that during this pandemic, it is essential for the civil rights of students with disabilities to be protected. Instead of waivers, we have urged Congress to provide robust funding to states and school districts to better support students with disabilities during this national emergency.
In other news, a federal court ruled last week that the U.S. Department of Agriculture's 2018 rule to loosen whole grain and sodium standards in school meals violated the Administrative Procedure Act. That act governs the process by which federal agencies develop and issue regulations. The stricter nutrition standards have been championed by former First Lady Michelle Obama. If the USDA wants to keep its amended policy, the agency will likely to have to restart the rulemaking process, which can take years. The Trump administration has 60 days to appeal the decision.
Finally, the Education Department has proposed a new priority for the Education, Innovation, and Research, or EIR program, which helps support evidence-based innovations that will improve student achievement for high-need students. The department is proposing to give educators vouchers or stipends to choose their own professional development courses. They believe this approach may be more effective at, quote, improving instructional practice and student outcomes than one-size-fits-all professional development activities. Congressional Democrats, however, are skeptical. Representative Rosa DeLauro, who chairs the House subcommittee overseeing the department's budget, called the approach unreasonable and unwise and suggested that, quote, a better approach would be to provide school districts with resources to invest in high-quality, evidence-based professional development experiences. Comments on the proposal are due on May 13th. For more information, visit the link below. That's all for today. For an alert when the next Federal Flash is available, email alliance@allfored.org. Stay safe, stay home. Thanks for watching.
Federal Flash is the Alliance for Excellent Education's video series on important developments in education policy in Washington, D.C. Watch online at allfored.org/Federal Flash, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or listen to Federal Flash wherever you get your podcasts.